Let's talk a little health care. We thought this morning was going to be a major vote in the House on Nancy Pelosi's health care bill. However, it has been put off a bit. Looks like later tonight will be the vote. The president is expected to make a mid-morning visit to the House to try to urge any of those over the finish line. It seems they are struggling to get those last few votes. And what are they doing, guys, this morning to get everybody on board?
Well, it's maybe what they were doing yesterday. Of course, White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel making phone calls to a lot of Democrats, and some of the things that he's been saying is, look, this bill is going to change. They're basically selling Democrats on the notion that, look, vote for it now, vote for it later today, because it's going to inevitably change. Some of your concerns that you are raising will probably be taken care of as this thing progresses, but don't kill it now. Vote for it.
Well, the big thing that was the impasse and the reason that this has been delayed is about abortion and whether or not there were some loopholes in the House bill, which many people believed, that would allow abortions to be funded for people around the poverty line who got federal assistance. So there were so many Democrats, at least 40, who are pro-life, that would not vote for this because of what they said was the vague language about abortion. So this morning at 9 a.m., Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has announced that she will allow debate, and it should be very lively debate, for these 40 Democrats, including it's Bart Stupak, Democrat of Michigan, who wants to insert an amendment that will have very clear, plain-spoken language that says no abortions under any circumstances will be paid for with any federal funds. That would be some very clear language.
Yeah. And that language is so clear that the Planned Parenthood has come out and said this is absolutely goes against everything we stand for. In fact, they said it undermines the ability of women to purchase private health plans that covers abortion, even if they pay for most of it out of premiums out of their own pocket. So even if most people are paying for this and going through this particular process themselves without any government money, that's still being covered under this amendment that would be floated. So Planned Parenthood this morning, as you can imagine, not happy about it.
Yeah, you mentioned everyone getting involved in here. Take one Democrat, for example. Jason Altmaier got calls from the president, Rahm Emanuel, Kathleen Sebelius, and Arne Duncan all in one day to kind of push him towards the finish line.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're like,
interesting.
Arne, look, I already got a call from the president. So
right.
Arne,
I think I'm all set, right?
Like, leave it alone.
Even more on this, check out the website of Republican from Michigan, Dave Camp. He is the senior most member on the House Ways and Means Committee. What he's telling us this morning is you might actually face jail time if you cannot afford to buy health insurance. As you know, there are individual mandates under this House health care bill, and it turns out big fines and, yes, 5 years jail time possible if you don't buy.
Dave Camp is basing his information on this nonpartisan group called Joint Committee on Taxation. They say that they have looked through this entire bill, and what they've found is that you could face up to a $250,000 fine and 5 years in prison if you do not comply with having medical insurance. So now, for the first time, just by being born in this country, you have to pay the government, or you could go to prison or pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines.
Question whether or not this is constitutional. Of course, we've had this debate here on the show, and the idea that you would actually have to be forced under the Constitution to do this is not something that's going to fly. The American Medical Association also facing some big hurdles. Said there's going to be some protests in Washington today. Doctors protesting this whole process, and it's interesting what they're protesting here. They've been fired up, of course, about malpractice coverage. They've been fired about a number of different things, public option, of course, and a government-run option. And now it looks as if, though, the American Medical Association behind closed doors sort of shifting back and forth, deciding that, look, this thing may get killed in the water anyway. We perhaps don't want to be the ones who are the pallbearers carrying the coffin to the grave, so to speak.
Right. There are a large number of doctors, though, in the American Medical Association who are not happy with this bill. They will bring it up to vote. They may, in fact, retract their support for this House bill. But what they're saying quietly is the Senate bill might be even worse for doctors in this country, so they may actually prefer the bill currently going through the House.
But what's interesting, as you'll know, is that President Obama came out and trumpeted this endorsement from the American Medical Association, saying, I have them on board, doctors believe in this. And now today, they are going to be meeting in Houston where they say, whoa, actually, our Board of Trustees voted on this endorsement, and not all of us believe in this endorsement, and they may vote to retract it, if that's the right word. So there's so much for a Saturday. There is so much going on today on Capitol Hill and around the country about all of this health care reform.
So let's promise a little bit later in the show.
At this hour, there's another deadly shooting to tell you about this morning. A 40-year-old man accused of going on a shooting